Formerly suicidal redditors, what's something that kept you alive a little while longer and helped you to get through the dark times in your lives? Honestly? Granola bars. I had gotten my affairs in order to go off myself. I had resolved what I was going to do and was on my way out when my wife called to me, "Oh honey, we need granola bars for the kids' lunches tomorrow." Great. One more thing. I toyed around with ignoring that request and just doing it anyways. But I went to the store and grabbed a box of them. On the drive back, I was ready to do what I had planned to do anyway. I saw a tractor trailer coming the opposite way and decided to take my opportunity. I crossed the center line and awaited the eventual impact. Then I saw the box of granola bars. I thought that my wife, in her grief, would have to pack up 4 kids and get granola bars the day after my death. I couldn't do that to her. I couldn't do that to my kids. No goodbye, no anything. Just that Dad died on the way home from getting their granola bars for school. I pulled back into my lane and passed the truck. I went back home and sobbed for 15 minutes on the driveway. My wife eventually came out and asked me what was wrong. I broke down and everything came to the surface. I ended up going to the hospital the next day and dealing with my depression, stemming from PTSD. I did treatment. I got better. I was put on meds and got my life back together. This was 3.5 years ago. I still owe my life to granola bars. My dogs. My nephew, and my cows. I know it sounds silly to name them both in the same sentence, but I didn't want my nephew to grow up without me in his life, and I didn't want to miss out on all of the chapters in his life. My aunt died a few years ago, and I so would have wanted her to meet my, fingers crossed the BF proposes, husband, to come see my farm, and to see that I came out alright in the end. I had a bit of trouble growing up, with an abusive father and medical issues, and I wish she could have seen me be who I eventually ended up being. I want to see my nephew, now 9, graduate, see him find love, see him grow up to be amazing. Him and I are really close. He calls me Momunty, mom/auntie. I felt like people would get over my death, that no one really needed me. Being chronically ill, I sometimes feel pretty useless, and that the loss of me in the world would pass. I have a cow that is more like a dog than my dogs. If she doesn't get to see me several times a day, she will moo until she sees me. She comes galloping when she sees me. The thought of her missing me, being such a beautiful and innocent soul, without anyone to explain why I'm not around anymore, just broke my heart. When I tried killing myself twice, I never realized how many people loved me and cared about my well-being. Hearing how there were search parties of people looking for me. I started writing my thoughts out in the notes on my phone, then started to turn these thoughts into songs. I've sang and played guitar for a long time, but I learned that writing and playing could be a way to reach conclusions and not get stuck in negative feelings. It has also become a way to propel myself out of my bad moods. Sometimes I feel guilty for using music for personal gain, but it's still working for now. During those times I thought it was because I was afraid to. Through experience I realized I didn't kill myself because I was trying to be, perhaps, brave. Sometime later, after being cured of depression, I realized that the innate desire to live never really went away. Though I don't have data to support my hypothesis, I suspect that innate desire for self-preservation never goes away in most of us who suffer with depression. But what does happen during depression is so fucking painful and so fucking scary that to go on to live in that pain is somehow more scary than death. Think about that for a second. As scary as jumping off a fucking building is, living in that pain is more scary. Looking back, I don't think I wanted to die. I think a more accurate statement is I didn't want to be in pain anymore. And unfortunately there is no pill or surgery or fast intervention that works universally to take that pain away. Skeptical. So I didn't, for some reason I held out hope. I'm forever grateful I did hold out, because while I hated being depressed and losing out on a decade of my life, I'm grateful for the experience. I was having a bad day and considering walking in front of traffic while I waited for the bus. Once the bus arrived, I found myself a seat, and when I looked up I saw the bus driver, a skinny black man in his 50s, had bright orange sequin shoes that sparkled as he worked the pedals with his feet. It was so unexpected that it interrupted my suicidal thoughts that day. I complimented him when I got off at my stop and still think about his sparkly shoes to cheer myself up sometimes. No reason is too small to keep going. I got married and had kids. I could never do that to them. The fact that I don't even have the option of killing myself makes me freak out though. The thought that my son would have to grow up without a mother, going to school for a healthcare field and being a perfectionist. All my intrusive thoughts and half-baked plans would just get me a week in the ICU and some time in an institution. If not done properly, I'd be more miserable than before. I know that sounds super effed up. Wanting to see the ending of One Piece. There was a time I had a lot of problems in my life and had suicidal thoughts. But I had been watching One Piece since 2010, and I really loved the story and characters in general, and always when I watched an episode I felt like I had to know what was going to happen next. So at the time I had my dark times. The only thing that kept me up was the thought that if I ended up anything I wouldn't know what was going to happen next. Fortunately, some of my friends realized that I had been behaving weird and helped me reach for help. Now I'm happy with my life and learned how to deal with the bad thoughts and control them. And the day I watch the last episode I'll be happy as fuck for the decisions I made to reach that point. I, 23F at the time, lived in my brother's basement after a series of events led me with nowhere to go after a breakup. My depression kept getting worse and I was spiraling pretty fast. But what kept me going was my 4-year-old niece, who would often come to my room to show me her dance she just made, her pieces of art, watch a show with me, bring me some fruit snacks, or to give me a hug. She was the light I needed. My father was passing away from stage 4 lung cancer. I had to hold on for my dad. Once he passed, I still kept that mindset. When everything in my life seemed to have reached its lowest, I seriously was going to end it. I had a day planned, and I wrote the letter to my friends and family that I still keep to this day. On the day of the plan I was listening to a lot of dark sad songs to remind myself why I wanted to leave this earth. One song that came on of course was The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. A recommended song appeared that was also by them. It was called The Boxer. The lyrics completely broke me down. I just started crying so hard I could feel my body quivering. The song basically is about a poor boy moving to New York City, excites for the prospect of a new life. He finds that everything, however, was all lies. The boy is stuck on the streets alone, taking comfort with prostitutes, unable to find work. The song just summarized my feelings of regret and self-loathing so well. The line that saved my life came in the last verse, which I know by heart. In the clearing stands a boxer and a fighter by his trade. He carries a reminder of every glove that laid him down or cut him until he cried out in his anger and his shame. I'm leaving, but the fighter still remains. Yes, he still remains. I'll never forget the feeling of strength I felt after hearing that beautiful verse. I'll never forget the story of the boxer. TL, Doctor, on the day I was going to kill myself, a song changed my mind. My best friend. She was never particularly available to helpful with my problems, but she would light up my life every time I talked with her. Even in my darkest times, when she would text or call, there would be a brief moment of hope. I tried to tell her how much she meant to me, and that I didn't have any direction in my life without her. She half-jokingly said to stop hurting myself, go to college, and make a career. I keep going every day, because she never told me what to do after. Coming from someone who did an attempt because I was in so much physical pain, learning how to control my pain through diet and the acceptance of the fact that I will have this the entire rest of my life and that it will get worse, but that's okay because I have people that love me and I bring a joy to the world. That and my kids would be left with their dads. I also had my daughter a year to the week after my attempt. She is the bright star in my life and her brother is who we call Capitan Obvious. Every day they bring new knowledge and wisdom that only someone new to the world without judgment can bring. The idea of leaving them and not watching them grow into the world-changing people that I know they will be is enough for me to say no to the negative things that pop in my head, to power through the worst of the pain days and live so that they can continue to teach me how to be a better person. My daughter is currently in the hospital after 2 suicide attempts, and just reading these gave me the chills. I'm saving this thread for when she comes home.